Hey, hello, hello. Welcome to Off Limits. It's off limits. Have you ever found yourself wondering what the opposite sex is really thinking or why relationships can feel so complicated? Well, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Ellen Roers, and you can call me Elle. This is a podcast where love, biology, and humor collide, some of my favorite things. It's off limits. Or shall we say, don't do this. For our little podcast jingle, I'm still debating. Hmm, not sure which one we're going to move forward with, but we can figure it out together along the way. First things first, let's talk about what off limits is and how it came to be. I thought long and hard about the name, Googled a lot of different options, and really thought, what is the best for the topics that we're going to be gathering together on? For those of you who followed my earlier podcast, the Elle Daily, you know it is all about inspiration and personal growth. So off limits builds on that foundation, but it takes it to a whole nother level. It's going to be more bold and it's a fresh direction. Here, we're diving into the unspoken rules of relationships, life, and leadership. Men and women are different. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, something to celebrate. This podcast is about bridging the gap, celebrating our differences, and helping each other understand what really makes us tick. Whether you're swiping, dating, married, or somewhere in between, this is your space to learn, grow, and maybe even laugh a little along the way. So, why the name Off Limits? Because we're going to tackle topics that feel a little taboo. The stuff people think about but don't always talk about. Things like why men's confidence is tied to testosterone, how women's emotions can fluctuate with their hormones and their cycle, and why chasing someone might actually push them away. I've just recently had that happen, so that is going to be our first episode. I'll talk about it in just a bit. So I've had many conversations with friends, colleagues, and listeners who said, I wish somebody would have told me that sooner. So that is why this podcast exists, to bring clarity, insight, and maybe even, again, a little humor along the way to laugh and have fun with this. So here's what you can expect from Off Limits. Each week, we'll tackle a new topic, breaking down the do's, the don'ts with practical, science backed advice. I love a little science. We'll talk about everything from decoding communication to boosting confidence. And yes, we'll get into the biology that influences it all. Biology is my favorite subject, or was my favorite subject back in the day. Next week, we're diving into why chasing someone never works and how to lead with confidence instead, especially for the men. Women will talk a little bit more about how to lean back and allow the man to pursue. So, men, there's definitely a big difference between chasing, even if you are in a relationship or married, it's going to feel a little bit different for a woman when you chase her versus pursue her or lead the way. So that's number one. And then the following topic that I've planned is more on a breakdown of how men can understand women and vice versa. So, primarily on the menstrual cycle. I think it's something that isn't talked about, especially men knowing when she's ovulating, and you might get a little more lucky. Vice versa for women, when you know, all right, this is the best time to have a conversation where I won't be so easily frustrated or yeah, it's a whole nother topic for another episode. So we'll get into that. But those are the next two that are planned. Relationships can be hard, but they don't have to be so complicated. With a little insight and a lot of grace, we can bring out the best in each other. My hope with this podcast is that it gives us the tools and the confidence to navigate love and life with clarity and ease. It won't be a finger wagging or know it all lecture. If it starts to get that way, you let me know because I don't want it to be that way. It's about real talk, fresh perspective, and actionable advice delivered with, again, a sense of humor and a lot of heart. So if you're ready to join me in this journey, hit the subscribe button and make sure you don't miss an episode. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear more about, send me a message. I'm always open to it, always open to ideas and being more engaging. So this is really about creating a community. If you know somebody else that would enjoy the podcast, share it with them. Let's build a community of people who are ready to level up in love and life. This is Off Limits, where the unspoken rules become tools for better love, leadership, and connection. I'm your host, Elle, and I can't wait to see you here to take this journey together. Let's jump in.